Hey guys, it's Anton Kozyrev from Team 61, Massachusetts DECA. And first of all, I hope you're all staying safe, that you're doing well during this pandemic time. And let's talk college admissions. So it's not an easy process, and you will struggle at times, but in the end, it's all worth it. So let's begin by just like the general idea or the goal of college admissions. What you want to do is you want to try to package yourself. And by that, I don't mean you should have your whole life figured out or you should know exactly what you're going to do 10 years down the road. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about looking at yourself right now, who you are as a person, what you've done, what you plan to do in the next year or so, and just generally trying to define who you are right now, because that's going to be how you define yourself and present yourself to colleges. And of course, that'll be huge for writing clear, grounded essays. And while we're on the topic of essays, the essay, there's a lot of different approaches to writing a college admissions essay. So obviously, if you're using the Common App, you have the Common App essay, and then individual universities will have supplements, so additional essays that might be longer than the Common App essay. They might be shorter, they might be more creative, more straightforward. It all depends on the college. But with each essay, especially your Common App essay, but with each essay in general, you want to make sure that you're writing something that's unique to you. You want to make sure that whatever you're writing, that it's not going to be something that tons of other people have written about. So I know it might be difficult to look at yourself and try to figure out, hey, what's special about me? What's unique about me? But I guarantee you, there's definitely something unique about your life experience that you can write about, because no two people have had the exact same childhood, exact same life leading up to this point. So there's definitely something that you can focus on to make your essay truly stand out in the eyes of the college reader. All right, another huge component, well, I shouldn't say huge component. It's been a huge component in past years, but some people are saying that it's being sort of phased out, and that's the college entrance exams. So the infamous ACT, SAT, and SAT subject tests. The trick with these, so we don't know whether they'll be even used in 5 years in the college admissions process. But for now, if you're taking the SAT, ACT, or subject test, there's no substitute for practice, because practice is key. It's very rare that someone will take a SAT or ACT on the very first try and get an amazing score without any prep. That's a very rare thing to happen. So what you need to do is you need to take a lot of practice exams and just keep practicing and plugging your way at it. And eventually you'll be very well prepared for your exam. Next, let's talk about interviews. So not all colleges do this. Most colleges try to do interviews, but it's not a guaranteed thing. So if you don't get offered an interview for a specific university and, I don't know, your friend got offered an interview, don't take that as a bad sign. A lot of schools that I got into, they did not offer me interviews. So it's really not an indicator of your likelihood to get in. It's really just an opportunity for the university to get to know you better, sort of add something to your application file, and to eventually make a decision. For interviews, really just try to be yourself. Obviously, before the interview, you want to generally lay out what it is you want to say. So, for example, you want to think of maybe certain anecdotes or life stories that you've had, and maybe sort of the lessons you can derive from that. But in the end, it's sort of a DECA role play. Just walk in there with confidence, shake your interviewer's hand if they'll allow you. I don't know if they'll allow that during the pandemic, but yeah, just for the interview, just be confident, be yourself, and everything will go well. Oh, and one more thing. During a college interview, it's not supposed to be an interrogation. It's more of a conversation. So your interviewer, they're also nervous because they're probably on the alumni board, they're an alum of the university, and this is basically a service that they're doing for their university. They want to make sure that they do a good job for their school. So honestly, they're probably also pretty nervous. So when you're doing your interview, your interviewer will probably try to find some topic or some string of conversation that you can follow. And what you should do is you should build on that conversation. So all of my interviews, they were scheduled to be like half an hour. We ended up talking for usually like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, because we would just keep the conversation going until we lost track of time. And that's a really good indicator of a good interview. I'm not saying that you have to talk for hours to have a good interview, but it definitely can be a good sign. All right, and now let's talk about maybe one of the more stressful parts of the college experience, which is paying for college. Now, some people are fortunate enough not to have to apply for scholarships. They are able to be full pay, but most people will be applying for financial aid at some point in one form or another. And what you want to do here is you want to research as many scholarships as possible. And there are a lot of scholarships. So there are general scholarships like the Coca-Cola scholarship, which I believe is $20,000 a year. So you can apply for that, I think, by November. There are more specific scholarships like to certain identity groups, like the Jackie Robinson Foundation Scholarship, that's specifically aimed at minority students. There's achievement scholarships, like the Davidson Scholarship. There's university scholarships. So individual universities might have their own scholarships that you can apply for. Maybe you'll write an extra essay, or maybe they'll just consider you for it automatically once you apply. I know that Tulane definitely does that. USC does that. There's different schools that have like their own scholarships that you can apply for. And obviously there's organizational group scholarships. And DECA is an organization, and DECA does in fact have scholarships that you can apply for. And if you're a senior, you should definitely look into that. The deadline will be sometime in spring, and it can be a great opportunity to get more financial aid for your college experience. So at this point, your mind might be reeling. You might be thinking, oh, what should I do first? Like, what should I focus on? Well, there's a general breakdown of sort of the overall tasks and goals that you should be focusing on based on your year in high school. So if you're a freshman, I would recommend trying to figure out what you enjoy. Try to immerse yourselves in as many different classes and extracurricular organizations as you can. Just sort of like try to get like a sense of like different disciplines and try to figure out what it is you actually like truly enjoy. And don't be afraid to try new things. If you're a sophomore, you're getting closer to the college admissions process. So you want to sort of like start solidifying your goals and interests, solidify sort of like your academic path through high school, maybe decide on like the classes that you really want to take during your time in high school. So if you're really into STEM or something, like you're really interested in computational biology or something, you're definitely going to want to take more intensive like math and science courses. So you should definitely be looking for electives that focus on that. If you're a junior, good luck. I mean, people say that junior year is the worst. That's actually not true. I feel like senior year was worse in terms of like difficulty and stress level. But junior year is when you want to sort of like try to you want to start building a pretty good college list. And you want to start researching different scholarships. You want to start visiting college campuses and sort of like put together your individual profile of who you are, because that'll definitely help you when you're filling out your college applications. And then if you're a senior, well, this is it. This is your moment to shine. You just gotta put in the work and get through it. Fill out all your college applications, fill out your scholarship applications. And it's definitely a stressful time, especially fall of senior year. But, just think about it. It'll all be over in March, and then you'll finally know where you're headed. Another part of the college admissions process that tends to trip people up tends to be sort of like the acronyms or like the naming of the different application processes. So just off the top of my head, there's ED, EA, RD, REA, and let's just talk briefly about like what these mean. So EA stands for early action, and early action is when you apply to a college or university and you apply by a specific early deadline. So that's usually tends to be around like November 1st. So that's not binding. Early action is not binding. So you simply apply early and you get a decision earlier. So that's usually around like November, December, or January. Something that's similar to that is ED, which is early decision. Now, early decision is binding. So when you apply early decision to a school, you'll have that same early deadline and you'll hear back from the university early. But the thing is that you sign a agreement when you apply to a school ED that you will attend that university if accepted, and you will pay the amount that they want you to pay. So you definitely want to consider your financial standing and your ability to and desire to actually attend that school before deciding to apply ED somewhere. Then we have RD, which is regular decision. So that's just like the general college admissions process. So most regular decision deadlines are around like early January, and that's just like you're in with like the rest of the pool of regular decision applicants, and you'll probably hear back sometime in March. So that's just like the regular college process, and obviously that's non-binding. The only one that's binding is ED. And then some schools do something really wacky called REA, and that stands for Restrictive Early Action. So for example, Harvard University does REA. So you can apply them early. So it's similar to early action, but it's restrictive in that if you apply to Harvard University REA, they consider you in their early review process, and you hear back in December, and you're not bound to attend Harvard University if you get in. But the thing is, if you apply REA to Harvard, you are not allowed to apply early to any other private institutions. However, you can apply early to public schools. So say you choose to apply to Harvard REA, you can still apply to a school like UMass Amherst Early Action. You can apply to UVA Early Action. You can apply to UC Berkeley Early Action. So that's really the difference between EA, RD, ED, and REA. And I just want to end this on a positive note. Like, don't stress too much about the process. Yes, it's a scary process. Yes, it's potentially future and career defining. But, it's actually a really exciting process. You only apply to college once. You only go through this college admissions process once. And, if you can, just like try to enjoy every step of it, because you won't experience this ever again. And if you're worried about where you're going to end up, you're worried that you won't end up at your dream school, my word of advice to you is, just don't worry about it too much, because I'm a firm believer in the fact that you will end up at the best place for you. So I personally, I had like several schools in mind that I always believed would be like the ideal school for me, that I really wanted to go there. But in the end, I ended up going to a different school, another top school on my list that I'd never really contemplated going to, and that's Vanderbilt University. And now that I'm at Vandy, I couldn't possibly imagine going anywhere else. I truly love it here. So you will end up at the best place for you. So, go out there, think about college, and have fun. Good luck.